Good morning, brethren. Thank God for today. Thank God for making today possible and for us to worship in His presence together. Um, it would have been very good, and I was even thinking about it to travel down to be with you guys this morning, but it wasn't feasible. And what would have even been much better would have been to join you virtually live, but that also could not happen. So I had to just record this video because I believe that you're in the season of exams. And first off, I would love to even hear from you how the exam preparations have been going. I hope that you have been preparing well. I hope that you have not just been casual about it. I hope that you have not become victims of, what goes on around in Ibogo, right? The complacency and then the just general like lackadaisical attitude to academics. I hope that you as a people who is known for excellence, the spirit of excellence, the spirit of holiness, I hope that you have been putting that to play. Because one thing that you can also not underestimate is the fact that even if you have the spirit of excellence, if you are not preparing, if you don't put in the work, there will be nothing for the spirit of excellence to work with. So the main reason why I'm even here, I'm speaking this morning is very recently. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I had reached out to Daniel, and thank God for Daniel's life. I was asking him about the general welfare of the academics, especially of the 200 levels. If you are in your congregation this morning and you're in 200 level, please know that there is so much expectation that God has for you with regards to your academics. There is so much of expectation, and I think that you are very, 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 very blessed um, to be listening this morning. So, like I was saying, special thanks to Dan. I was asking him about the welfare of the students, especially with regards to the academics, and he was telling me about some of the efforts that the fellowship has been putting together to really help the young, the 200 levels in the mist. Well, I just have a very simple message for us this morning, and I hope that we listen very attentively. The truth is that DLCF Ibogun has been known as a beacon of holiness and of excellence. But over time, you would agree with me that for some reasons that we cannot explain, it looks as if that is beginning to wane. It looks as if that is beginning to go away. And for me, that has been a major concern. And I have been praying, and that's the prayer part of the output or the results of those prayers is was why I reached out to Dan, because I want us this morning to think about it. Another exam is facing you already. In less than 7 days, you'll be writing another exam. And my question to you is, what is going to be different about the exams you've been writing so far and the ones you're going to be writing next week? What is going to be the change? What is going to happen different? What are you already doing differently that would ensure that that real spirit of excellence, that real spirit of academic success will begin to be made manifest in your life? Because the truth is, whether we like it or not, we have the spirit. So why has it been looking like generally across the fellowship, we're struggling academically? Let me first of all say that um, as much as many of us might no longer believe, as much as might even be joking about it, but the truth is that it is very possible for each and every one of us in the fellowship to have all A's in our courses. I'm referring to the next exams that you are having. Personally, I've been working with a couple of you guys in the fellowship there, right? And we've been having conversations. But one thing that I have always said, and I will keep saying, is that academics is a science. Those who understand it are able to play it well, and it works for them. But those who don't understand it, even though they are very spiritual, they'll still be victims. So what I want to do this morning is to help you understand exactly what it takes, what it takes to actually succeed academically. What it takes, very simply, to have A's in your papers. You see, I thought it was impossible myself. I thought, because when I came into 200 level, I was a direct entry student in Ibogo. It wasn't like I wasn't smart. Coming from, from my secondary school, so many things, I was smart in secondary school. But coming into Ibogo my first semesters, and I was shocked. I was seeing C's and B's, and I could just count the very sparing A's, and I was wondering what is going on. Then it happened again in second in 200 level second semester. Then it happened again in 300 level first semester, and then it got worse by 300 level second semester, when I had an E in a course. And so for me, I just defined that, oh, Ibogun is just not a place, or maybe I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, or, for I gave excuses, just like some of us might be giving excuses about our academics. For the 200 level students, many of you were very smart, or are very smart by the results that you had in your secondary school, by even probably your jump or something. And you are now beginning to think maybe your 100 level was good, and then 200 level first semester, last semester wasn't so good. Or maybe even your 100 level was not so good, and second semester your GP went down again. That was the same position I was in, and I was thinking that there was nothing that could be done, and I just given up. I literally had given up. But thanks to leaders like Pastor Daniel, thanks to leaders like Dr. Collins, that really they did not give up on me, right? I had given up on ever getting a first class, because even from 200 level down to 300 level second semester, the GP just kept going lower and lower and lower. And I never at any point actually had like a 4.5. That's a 4.5 GP, not even a CGPA. Like the aggregate for each semester, none of the semesters ever met up to a 4.5. So how was I ever going to be able to to even cross into 4.5 CGPA cumulatively? So I had given up on that. But gracefully and thankfully, and I believe that one of the reasons God really helped me was so that many more people can replicate that same thing. Because it wasn't until 400 level, then the person who was not even getting up to 4.5 per semester, I was able, by God's help and by God's mercy, right? Now every semester was able to I was clearing all A's. I think in 400 level first semester I had 1B. By 400 level second semester, of course, that's IT, I had an A. Then 500 level, there were A's. So what really changed? That's what I want us to talk about this morning. That's what I want to share with us this morning. And I trust that God will help us, because I know that even beyond the wisdom, which I'm going to emphasize, because there is the wisdom that you must apply and it would work for you, right? Beyond that, there is the Spirit. And for as many of us that are listening this morning, I think I want us to start from that verse in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, if I'm right. Chapter 1 verse 7, that says that he has not given us a spirit of fear. Many of us right now already being filled with fear. We have not done well in previous semesters, and now it's looking like another semester and the same story is about to be replicated. But this morning, I want you to hold on to that verse from 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. He has not given unto us the spirit of fear. That is one thing that I have studied that goes on in Ibogo. That once it's time for exams, people begin to tell tales of experiences that they've had during exams. People who have had bad experiences begin to spread that fear among every other person. So this morning, the word you must hold on to: he has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. So in place of fear, he gave you 3 powerful weapons: the spirit of love, the spirit of power, the spirit of a sound mind. So I want us to start from there this morning. If you're having any fears concerning the exam, let me be the first to tell you that your fears will actually come to reality. So you cannot afford to have any fears for this exam. Instead of that, the spirit of love, power, and of a sound mind has been granted to you. Right. Um, let's start from love. Because first off, you must know and understand that you have a father who is very much invested in your success, even more than you are invested in. You see, that was what I realized. The moment I began to see that God was actually interested, because the truth was that I had lost hope. I was no longer interested. So even if my father was interested, I didn't even look at it. I couldn't consider it. But I want you to know this morning that as helpless as you think and hopeless as you think that your academics might have gone, there is a father who loves you enough and he is more passionate about your success than you can ever be. Guess what? He doesn't stop there. He loves you, he's interested. But he goes a step further. The spirit of power. So, brethren, I want you to know that the power needed for this success, the power needed for this academic breakthrough, your father has it and has given it unto you. He has given you that spirit of power. Some of us are, if the truth is, if you have the power and you are not looking at it, there is no way to come to work. But the moment I knew that my father was interested, he has given me that spirit of love and I have accepted him. So maybe this is a good point to pause and ask, have you accepted the spirit that God has given you? Have you accepted that gift of love? Have you accepted that gift of love? Have you accepted the gift of his son? See, everything we are talking about this morning won't make sense and would not even be achievable for you. Remember, I'm still coming to the things, the practical things, but let's start from here this morning. Have you accepted the spirit of love? Because there is a spirit of love, actually. There is one, when you accept the son, the paradigm of your life changes completely. The way you see things changes. The possibilities that unfold before you changes. But if for any reason this morning you have not truly accepted Christ, or somehow in your heart you have wandered away, somehow you know you are not in the right place with God as you should be, please, can I plead with you that this morning you just make a decision and this morning you just say a prayer that, Lord, I have strayed away from your love. I have strayed away from the sacrifice you have made. Please, I'm coming back to you. This morning, I'm coming back to you. This morning, I realized how much of love you have loved. That you knew that I was going to be crippled. You knew that I was going to be helpless. And you sent help my way in form of your son. So that I might have that spirit of love. Brethren, this is the starting point for this conversation this morning. Every academic excellence you would ever want or need has been made. The provision has been available, but it has been made in the person of his son. You have to start from there this morning. But once you have progressed from there, my apologies. Once you have made progress from there, and you can say, yes, I have received the spirit of his son. I have the love of God in me. Once you can say that, you must also realize immediately that one that you have received, you see, this is where many Christians get it wrong. We have the spirit in us, the spirit of power. He's not a dormant person. He's not one that I have believed him, so I know I have believed him. That's all that he can do. But he's one that is quick, he's one that is powerful. We have to realize that we are not helpless. We have the spirit of power within us. For the sake of time, I think I will just go over this quickly so that I don't waste so much. I believe that some of us want to go back to start reading, which I hope that by the end of this session, you would actually know how to go and start reading properly, right? The right way that would guarantee that you are coming out with success. But let's not forget this foundation. You have received his son. You have turned away from everything wrong. You are no longer of Adam. You are now of Christ. You have the newness within you. You have the purity and holiness within you. You must realize that you have the spirit of power within you. So the power needed, because everything, power is the what, I can't remember what it is now, forgive me. I think power is the work Energy is the ability to do work, right? Then power is the rate of work done with time, right? Power, that potential, that thing needed to execute excellence. You won't if you don't have it. No matter, so this where many of us get it wrong. We just get lost in the activities. We think if I can read, I'll just pass. It doesn't work that way. Do you have what it takes to actually pass? Do you know you can just be doing several activities, but inside you don't have the capacity. You don't have what it takes. That's the case of many of us. But the truth is, as long as you are a Christian, if you have received of the Spirit of God, you actually have that power. But power can also be, you can have power and not use it. I hope you do. But first off, I want you to know that you have the spirit of love and you have the spirit of power. So it is very, very possible. You have the power it takes to power that academic excellence you're looking for. Now, guess what? The third one, the spirit of a sound mind. The spirit of a sound mind. Oh my, this is so beautiful. If you truly understand this, then there is no exam that you would go for that you are not guaranteed of success. Now I want you to know that it's not about the reading. I hope by now you can see it. It's not first about the reading. There is first the mindset. He has given us the spirit of a sound mind. The mind that can comprehend. The mind that can understand. So many of us actually, we read. And some of us might be able to testify to this. You read, but you don't remember what you read. You read, but you get to exam hall, you are struggling to remember. Do you know that you have received the spirit of a sound mind? For some of us, when we are reading, we are dealing with several things in our heart. The enemy is convincing us, is speaking against our heart. It's telling you things like, oh, you will not pass this exam. Oh, is accusing us in our heart. Fear is crippling our heart. But you know what? You have the spirit of a sound mind. You have a mind that can pick up a book and everything there, you can have it in your memory. You have the spirit of a sound mind. Brethren, if you know what you have, nobody can tell you you don't have it. And in the face of circumstances, if you know that what you need for that circumstance, you have it, you would emphasize on it. So first off, my brethren, I want us to settle in our heart. I have the spirit of love. I have the spirit of power. Is it the power needed for academic excellence? I have it. And I have the spirit of a sound mind. I have the spirit of a sound mind. I have the spirit of a sound mind. There is no book. You see, if we don't start from here, if you read, you'll still be doubting whether you can understand. But when you settle this in your heart, there is nothing that, oh my, there is the confidence with which you now approach your studies. So understanding these things, let's move on into other matters. Understanding these things that you actually have, you see, let's settle the basics, the foundation. Now we have settled it. Let's now go on. What does it actually take to read and pass an exam? What does it actually take? The truth is that I'll break it down for and my 200 level brethren and then 300 level brethren. I really understand you have the spirit, and I am craving and I'm praying that many of us will show for that excellence. I'm craving that many of us in our time we can record again several first classes, that the best people in each department is from the fellowship, is from us, the children of God. I crave for such a time as this, right? So 200 level, 300 level listening to me, please don't take this lightly. Please don't take it lightly. And I think I'm happy that we are doing this as a recording, so this can be shared with you even after the service, and you can go listen. I thank God for how it works, because if it was live, we might not have the recording, but thank God for this. So what does it actually take? Brethren, let me break it down into 3 things. This was what I realized. That now I have all the background, I have what it takes, right? So what is the work that is needed to be done? Because now the spirit needs to be put to work for it to come out, for the results to be done. But let me start on this note, that actually, guys, as much as we have the spirit, do you know that you don't have enough time anymore? You have just 7 days. 7 days. And the mechanics, the work that needs to be done requires more than that. Let me start from there. Because if you've not started reading by now, you are very late. You are very, very late. But we are going to trust God for you. We are going to trust God that as soon as you leave this service, you are going to make sure that not 1 second passes again. Brethren, if you are still wasting time at this point, if every hour at this point is not being maximized, you are joking. You are really, really playing. Please and please. Right. So one of the things I realized was that every time, every second counts, especially when it's close to exam. Right. Now, 3 things. You must understand what it takes that if I have a book, if I have a note, first off, you must have a note. You must have the material that you want to read. That's where it starts from. So let's even start from there. The preparation for exam. So first off, you want to ensure that every material needed for the exam, you have it. If it is in PDF, if it is in a written note, I would advise strongly, especially for the 200 level, please have your written notes. Please have your written notes. That's one thing I always do before exams. Many because of several things that I was involved in while on campus, I wasn't always very, very active during the semester. But during the end of the semester, my notes, I can't joke with it. So I'll get notes from all of the people that I know write notes very well. Then also gather my PDFs. Then start writing my notes. I have my notes for at least for the last 4 semesters in school. I wrote down my notes by hand. So that by the time, and this is preparation alone, that I can gather all my notes together and say, this is all I need to read for this exam and I'm done. Because no lecturer will go outside, except, extreme cases. But at least the ones that most of them would set what they've taught you or the material they've given you. So you want to write that down first. Make sure you have your notes, you have the material, organized in a very good way. So myself, I'll make sure I write my notes, and I can maybe four exercise books. I'll divide them each into like three courses each, and then I have that. And then after having that, my PDFs, I organize them into different folders per courses. Right? So I do that. Please do that. Because you don't have time, if you've not done this before, make sure you finish everything like this that I'm talking about now. Today. Make sure you finish it today. Now that you've done that, you have the materials needed. Guys, can I tell you that what it takes to pass the exam is that you can complete this course, you carry it in your head, and then you go to exam and you're able to answer the questions accordingly. Do you know that that's what it takes? Some of us, we probably don't know. You're thinking that maybe there is something else that they are using to give A's at the back end. Of course, your test counts. Of course, your distance. If you've messed up those, that's one of the reasons why I say time is behind you already. But for now, tell me, 70% is exam, or in some cases 50 or 60. That is still a lot to secure an A. Guys, my conversation this morning with you is about getting an A, nothing else. I'm not talking about a B. I'm not talking about a C. Because I've gotten B, C, and I've gotten E, and I know what it takes to get an A. I know what it takes, and that's what I'm telling you about. If this is a course and you've read it and you know it, I'll still be talking about it. I talked about the 3 things, and that's what I'm going to talk about when I'm talking about how to actually read. But if this is the material and you read it and you go to exam, and all the questions will come from here. If you're able to answer it, you can go out of the exam hall and with the spirit of excellence, with confidence, say, I have gotten an A. In most cases, I don't deny that there are other cases that might come up. There are other funny stories and all of that, right, that can come up. But of course, again, we have the spirit of love. We have the spirit of power. We have the spirit of a sound mind. We know our Father is loving enough to help us through all situations. Right. Preparation, your materials must be set. What does it take? You know the material. You're able to answer the questions according to the material. According to the material. This is when some of us get it wrong. Some of us will get to the exam hall and write, and we think that, oh, I've written the exam and the result comes out. You're like, I didn't pass, but I know I wrote, I finished, I wrote paper. Did you write according to what they taught you? Did you write according to what was in your notes? Or did you just form English and form grammar and join and say, I still understand? Or you use your secondary school, what they taught in secondary school to answer what they're teaching you? No, it doesn't work that way. According to what you were taught. According to how you were taught. Now, let me touch on another matter. Or maybe first, let me start by talking about the 3 things. So the first thing, I always say when you have the material and you need to now get it into your memory before the exam, what does it take? First off, you need to be familiar with the material. Next, you need to understand the material. Next, you need to memorize the material. That is it. If you can go through these three things as many times as possible for the exam hall, I can guarantee that there will not be any question you enter the exam hall you would not be able to answer. I can guarantee you. See, this is not something for smart people. This is something that works for everybody. So long as you are familiar with the material and you are familiar, you understand it, and you can at least you can memorize it, you are good for the exam. You are good for the exam. So in case you are wondering that, oh, I don't have enough memory, I don't have enough IQ, you are very wrong. Because each and every person can testify to a moment when they actually read the material very well. The other courses might be having C's and B's, but the courses, if you've ever had an A, you know what you did to get an A, and you know you read that material to get an A. You know that you prepared very well for that material. So if you can get an A in one course, if you can get a B in one course, what makes you think you can replicate it across every other course? So it's not a problem of IQ. In case you are thinking that, oh, I'm not smart, I wasn't born smart. It's not a problem. It's a system. It's a knowledge. It's a spirit first. We've talked about that, and then is wisdom. Okay. So after saying that, now I said what? You must be familiar with the material. You must understand the material, and oh my. Sorry about that, guys. It's just been a mix of a lot of things this morning. But I just believe that God wants me to have this session with you. So I've said there is a spirit. Sorry, there is being familiar with the material. There is the understanding the material, and then there is the memorizing the material. So where most people might get it confused is the memorizing. Because when I tell people you actually have to memorize the material, they think, oh, I'm cramming, and they say cramming is not good. Actually, cramming is you when you memorize the material before you have been familiar with it, before you have understood it, then you are cramming. That you just get the material once and you want immediately you're reading it, you want it to enter your memory. You will cram, you enter the exam and you forget it. You will forget it. So, but if you actually read, because you must memorize it, you can't just come into the exam hall and express your understanding here and there. No lecturer will give you mark. They have their marking scheme, and their marking scheme is according to the PDF they gave you. So you must actually memorize it. And memorizing will be easy if you go through the first two steps. Or first being familiar. What do I mean by being familiar? What I mean by being familiar is once I've gathered my materials, the first thing I want to do is I want to know what is in the material. I want to be reading through and I'll be like, okay, this is what this material is about. There are 5 topics I have to cover in this material. Each of them is like 1 page long. There are 26 pages here. Or I read through, just skim through it. Just try to see what the course is all about. What are all the topics here? Cover it. Because I have my notes, I'm just skimming through and looking at it. Okay, here, this is what this is about. This is what it's talking about. And I'm just, just making my mind familiar with it. And many times you have to do that. I don't know how many times it will take you, but there's a number of times you have to do that. Maybe like you go through it like once, twice, thrice, just to be familiar with it. And you do that across your materials for every course. Then the next thing, understanding. Here is where I want to really know what the material is about. Some of us, I'll still tell you why some of us enter exam hall and say we've read, but we still fail. I'll tell you why. But you need to understand the material after you've been familiar with it. That there's no way you can sit down and in your mind you can't tell what you can't explain, you can't give definition, but at least you can say chapter 1 is this, chapter 2 is this, chapter 3 is this, chapter 3 the topics these are the under it they have subheadings, and I have an idea what at least I know. Understanding is now that I look through it, I know what the topic is actually talking about. I've read it like you're reading maybe a storybook, and after leaving it you can describe in your own words what was said in the book. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to understanding. If you can't leave your book and explain at least generally and give an idea, if you can do that, that is understanding. If you can't, you've not understood the material. Now the next step is what? Memorizing. Many times I recommend that you do this towards the exam, like very close to the exam. And of course, you're already close to the exam, so you should actually be doing that. This should be the state you are in now. 3 weeks, 4 weeks before exam, you can begin to go through those understanding and being familiar. But right now, that's what I'm telling you, that you're already behind time. Because all of these 3 things, you have to combine it now. That's what I'm telling you, that no 1 second should go to waste now. Memorizing. You have understood. So if you have understood, the next work is to remember exactly what was in the notes. You have to. Ask every A student. They don't bring their own knowledge in. It is what the lecturer gave them. But it's easy because if you've gone through a material like 5 times just to be familiar with it, and you've gone through it like 3 times just to understand it, memorizing will no longer be an issue. And you will never forget it. Because first, the issue with memorization is, or the issue with cramming now, is that you just memorize it and sometimes you now start replacing things for each other. When they're asking for this, you give this. But if you really have memorized, if you're familiar with it, you know when you're speaking something else. If you have understood it, you know this cannot be the answer for this. So when you're memorizing, it's just very easy. Very easy, right? So that said, let's move on to memorizing. I think I talked about memorizing already. I recommend that now that you're doing exams, this is the time for memorization, right? So start making sure you have to remember. And memorizing, the test of memorization, I told you on the familiar, you just look through it and you can say the topics, you can say the subheadings, understand it, you can say those things, and you can say something about what was written under each one. Memorization is, if you can't drop the book, oh my, if you can't drop the book and say what was in the book, you have not memorized it. Some of us were scared of testing it, and I used to be scared. Sometimes I'll say, I've read it. I don't want to try to remember it before the exam. Let me just get the exam and I'll pour it down. My friend, it's very risky. It's a risky game for somebody who must get an A. Usually in memorization, when you memorize once, you might skip some things, but the more times you try to memorize, the better for you. The less likely you are ever to forget it in the exam when you need it, right? So please don't be scared of doing that. So now let me tell you why some of us think we read and we enter exam, we don't fail, we still don't get an A. Number one, I think I've talked about this. You cram and then you forget in the exam hall. Number two, you only do familiarization. Some of us we say we are reading, but we are just skimming through. We can only see the top. We can only see the subheadings. You can't see what is inside the book. Tell me how you want to write the exam. Some of us will stop at understanding, so you can say it in your own words. My friend, the lecturer is not looking for what you understand about it. He's looking for the answer, and his marking scheme is only going to mark you according to what he taught you. But if you go through and you memorize, and you test your memorization that you actually memorize it, then trust me, you will pass the exam. Please be careful. Memorization is not the same thing as cramming. Cramming is what you try to do without being familiar and without understanding it. But memorization is actually a very core process of academic excellence. Ask any A student. They know this. They are not trying to understand. They will understand. Or they are not stopping at understanding. Please don't stop there, right? So these are the 3 things, guys. This is what I discovered. And it just became, so once I've picked my course and I've written it down, the next game I want to play is how many minutes am I going to spend trying to familiarize myself? How long am I going to take understanding this? How long am I going to take from memorizing this? And usually it is not all done in one sitting. If you do all these 3 things in one sitting, it's less likely that you will remember it. So many times you want to give space. So what I do usually is I make sure I touch my courses. Like now that I have 1 week to exam, I will make sure I touch my courses at least 3 times. At least 3 different times. Like different. When I say 3 times, I mean I'll finish one. I'll make sure I come back to it. I'll go to another course. I'll come back to that thing again. Maybe another 2 days. So by this time, usually this Sunday, every time when I'm leaving service, Ibogun church there, and it's exam 1 week time. This week is very intense for me. I have my calendars of how many courses I want to touch per day, to cover up per day. Because it's also that game. You must be able to, read something, memorize it, leave it, come back another time and remember, oh, that means you've read. But if not, go back to it again. Right? So those are the things I want us to understand this morning. I think this is already over 30 minutes. And I hope that with this, brethren, we have what it takes, but we are not maximizing it. The knowledge gap, now we've covered it. Please and please make the most of this. Make the most of this. For the 200 levels in the mist, you have everything. See, even if you came with a 3.5 from Algo, or even less than that, I think 3.5 is still being generous, because you can still definitely skyrocket into an A if you start striking all A's. Is it easy to get an A? It is not easy. Is it possible? It is more than possible. I'm telling you this. Right. I think for me, many things hindered me from 200 level to 300 level, and so many things were even, or I had not even, so many issues, right? But if you can guarantee, if you know you have got the spirit, because that's this foundation, You must have accepted this. You must know that truly I have the Spirit of Christ in me. If you've confirmed that, don't leave him dormant. He is the spirit of love, the spirit of power, the spirit of a sound mind, all the things you need for academic excellence. Right. And I'm trusting really that God will help each and every one of you. I'm trusting that God will enable you in the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. All right, friends. I will just stop here. I would have loved to say a prayer. My phone is currently shutting down. Thank you so much.